going to start off with some frosty snowy picks, and these are some that I got on clearance last year. These are some Dollar Tree poinsettias, and then I have one of these swag pieces, and then some ribbon and some burlap strips. And you're going to make sure when you get this, mine came from a thrift store, but you can use, whatever you have. Repurpose something that you're not using anymore. Pull that old stuff off and just go with it. I'm flipping it over to make sure everything's flat on the bottom, and then pushing out all of the little pieces kind of to the side here, trying to make it balanced so there's the same amount on both sides. I'm going to use this sign from the thrift store to make a base so that this can be easily removed from the table when it's time to eat. I'm going to use some tinsel. Green is good. I didn't have any solid green, so I got these tinsel looking pipe cleaners, I should say. And I'm going to just glue these down here, and that's how we're going to attach it to the wreath. So after the glue has set up, bend those little ends upward, put it on the table, flip this over, put the bottom of your swag piece down on top of your pipe cleaners. And you can just feed those through there. It's easy to do. I started in the middle, but you can start on the end if you would like, and then work your way down to the other end. Whatever works best for you. So now it's attached. We're going to leave those little pipe cleaners sticking out because we're going to add our picks right to those. I'm going to put them where I want this centerpiece to be balanced on both sides. So I'm trying to make sure that everything is sort of symmetrical on the sides. I do have 2 more picks that I'm going to add in just a moment, and you'll see that. So that these picks are going to make kind of an X in the middle. You can see it and tell what I'm doing. And I'm just twisting those in with the same pipe cleaners I already had. Alright, so I'm going to loosen this one up, add another one across here, and then another one across here. So now we have an X, and both sides will look exactly the same. They all fit down in that pipe cleaner. Be sure you use the full length pipe cleaners. Do not cut them in half, or you will not have enough for this. You could always use something else to attach them down if you'd like. I have some of this burlap ribbon that I am going to cut into 4 12-inch pieces. It is wired, and that is helpful to know because it's going to help us for what we're going to do with it. I'm going to take this, now the top one, that white one, came from Hobby Lobby. I got it 50% off in the clearance section, and then I got that bottom piece, that right there, that came from Dollar Tree, and you can get that pretty much all year round, I believe. And then we're just going to stack them, and you can put whichever color you want on top so that everything coordinates from my tree, to the centerpiece, to the wreaths, any little decor pieces that I have. We're going to start by attaching it just with the branches. You just twist your little greenery branches that are under there, and you just pinch your ribbons and then twist it into that, and then pull those apart so you can get both colors where you can see them. And then we're going to go to the other side like that, and then loop it over onto the other side. So if you would like to use a, what would that be, 12, 12, 12, and 12, 48 inches, so 2 feet of ribbon. If you wanted to, no, 4 feet, I think it would be 4 feet, you know what I mean. If you want to use one length of ribbon instead of cutting it into 4 parts, is what I am saying, you can certainly do it that way. But I wanted to do it this way because I save a little bit of ribbon. Yeah, were y'all shocked when I said I got it from Hobby Lobby? Yeah. And the rolls are usually pretty good size. So I'm going to continue down all the way to the end. Now the 2 tips of these, the outer ends of these, are kind of sparse, like those trees that you get at Dollar Tree have that one long branch on the end. I just folded it back underneath to get rid of that little silly looking sad piece. And now this one is going to be twisted here on the end. Okay, now we're going to take these poinsettias from Dollar Tree, and they look a little sad. You can double them up, which is what I will do here shortly, and show you how to do that, just to give it a little more impact. Otherwise, it kind of gets lost in the rest of the greenery, right? You know what I mean? So we're going to fix it so that it gets a little more attention. And it almost looks like one flower if you kind of interlace those little petals. You do it however you want. And you don't have to use white. If you're going to use a different color theme,
just use different colors. Now, I had some of this frosted fern left from last year, and I think it came from Dollar Tree, pretty sure that it did. And I thought, you know, this would be a good transition between that evergreen background and the snowy top to put this in here. It's sort of iridescent, it's frosty looking, and it really is pretty. I mean, on its own, it might not look too great, but when you cut it into pieces and then use it as a filler, it looks really nice. What do you think? Do you like that? I think it looks good there. Now, I intentionally left my center open because that's where we're going to put our candles. But this is what we have so far. Okay, so I have a couple little pieces of those ferns left because I'm going to need to use those in just a second. Now, the X on the bottom is going to give us somewhat of a base to put our candles on. They're flameless candles, and that is definitely what you want to use. Safety first. Yeah. But this centerpiece is kind of a quick one to make. So you can see, you just kind of balance them on there, and this is how it looks when it's lit up. And then you can see those little extra gaps there. Just go ahead and use that extra pieces of greenery and just tuck in there, and no one will even know. Okay, so now this is the overview of what that centerpiece looks like. I think it is beautiful, and it would look absolutely beautiful on a coffee table, a table behind a sofa, or on your table, on your dinner table. So here's my lantern. It had glass in it, but it was broken, and I took it all apart, got it from the thrift store, cleaned it up. You can see that it's about 24 inches. I'm going to use a variety of picks, same types and colors of what we used in our centerpiece because, you know, we want it to all look similar. A lot of these pieces are just little bits and pieces that I've taken off of projects from last year and the year before, and I keep them. Now I'm going to make some picks. You've seen me do this before. You're just going to add in stuff to kind of beef it up. I'm going to make the top a little bit thicker than the bottom, just for my own purposes. I'm going to zip tie it in the middle, clip it off so that we have a nice little swag here. Typically with the swag, you see that the top is going to be a little bit shorter than the bottom, and the bottom is going to hang down more. You can certainly do this any way that you want to. You'll need a longer swag if your lantern is taller, or you can make it shorter, whatever you like. But you see how I'm intertwining those petals? Now that looks like one big poinsettia, just like that. Sometimes you'll have enough room if you have thin enough wires that you could just push those in there and you don't even need any glue, which makes it perfect. But if you need some glue and you need to use additional zip ties, go ahead and do that. I'm going to use a black pipe cleaner and kind of weave it up in there so that I will have something to attach it to the top of my black lantern. This way you won't be able to necessarily see that once it's attached. More of this white ribbon, and we're going to make a bow. Now this is a wired ribbon, and it is picking up every little piece of stuff. That's the one bad thing about flocked pieces. They just make such a big mess. We're going to turn this fabric over and over on itself, and we're going to have 2 loops on this end, 2 loops on this end, and then we're just going to cut it off. We'll make a separate tail, so don't be concerned about that. This is about 8 inches. Then I'm going to do the same thing, only make it just a hair smaller with this. Now the jute doesn't have any wire in it, or not the jute, this burlap, it doesn't have any wire in it, but because we're making it so short, it's going to stand out nicely on its own, and you'll see what I mean in a moment. We're going to fold this over and over on itself as well till there are 2 loops on each side, just the way we did the other one, and cut it off. So you can see here where your center is going to be, just like that. Put your little loose piece on the bottom. We're going to fold over the white piece to give us a line where we need to cut. We're going to cut through the wire and just into the fabric. Now we're not going to need to do that with that burlap because the burlap has already got little notches in the side. It's naturally notched. Take a zip tie, flip it over, and then cinch it up on the back. You can pleat this in your hand if you want, but for now I just wanted to go ahead and get this little bow done. So be sure that you cinch it up where the little clamp thing is on the back or the bottom so that you don't see it. Start on the bottom and pull out your little loops. Pull them out and away from each other, and you can kind of twist it side to side a little bit, and that'll help it stand out. And then go up to your top loop, and you can do the same thing there. You can tuck that little extra piece in, or you can cut it off, and that's all it is to making that bow. Very simple, very simple. Now for the tails, I'm just going to use a long piece of that burlap, which already has a little curl in it. I'm going to fray the ends a bit because I want a straight edge here. I'm going to fray, just pulling those little pieces off one at a time, and then I'm going to make a straight little edge. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Just pull some of those little pieces loose, and you have a little straight edge, just like that. You can just lay that down. It's going to be several inches longer than the white one, and that is fine. We'll pinch that up in the middle, and this is what's going to be our tails. I'm taking a piece of jute that I keep on my work table, and I'm going to tie a few knots in the back so that our tails are attached firmly and nothing comes loose when we fluff. Leave those ends long because you're going to need to use those pieces to tie onto your little swag piece. I'm just cutting these at a slant. These are actually not going to hang down. I've decided to use these as part of the bow to make it look a little bit bigger, and you'll see how we do that once it's attached to the lantern. But for now, go ahead and tie your bow on, and then you can cut it off. You can see my lantern has a door, and we are on the front. Be sure that you are working to the front of your lantern. I'm going to lift up this swag. You can bend that top a little bit so that it will sit right there on the neck, and then wrap those pieces of pipe cleaner around to secure them down. Now is the time you can look in there and cut off any little things that don't belong, little stems and such, and go ahead and fill in the spots that need a little extra. So I had some extra snowy pine cones, and I'm just going to add those here and there to fill it out. Go ahead and grab those pieces of fern and tuck them in where they are needed, and they'll make a very pretty swag piece. Now I know that this is not long enough for this lantern. I can clearly see that. So you can see I'm just taking the white tails here and just rolling them under with my fingers. And because they're wired, they're going to stay up there pretty nicely. It's just going to make like a little curl. Same thing with that piece of jute on the top, just made a little curl up there, and it looks really cute. Now we're going to use these two pieces, little snowy limbs, and I'm going to be putting one at the top, and then I'm going to put one at the bottom, and that's going to help elongate our piece. So don't panic, you can always add a little something to it. Now we have to fill in the lantern, so I'm going to take a piece of this fabric, I think it's an automotive section at Dollar Tree. I'm just going to fold it and tuck it in there to make a snowy bottom, and then I'm going to use a pick and a couple of battery operated candles to light it up. And this is how it looks. You can always make yours longer, you can add a bigger bow, you can put more ribbon in it. Make it your own. That's what this channel is about, it's making it our own. And there are two of these. I'm going to take some of these house frames that are from the Dollar Tree, and these beautiful vintage books. These are from 1952 according to the information inside the books. So they are going way back. Look how cute. Look, she's dancing. So cute. And because these books are in terrible shape, they can't be resold. I'm going to use these. I'm going to give them new life. I'm going to take these frames apart, take the backing off, the paper out, the inner frame, and the glass. Take those little pegs out, those little black holders, pull all those out. I'm going to use this as a sort of a template to make sure that whatever pictures I choose will actually fit in the frame. And I love this Santa, so I'm going to carefully cut him out. And then over here, the two little ones looking at the Christmas tree. How precious. They are so cute. Look at those little pink cheeks. And now I'm just going to trace this out so we can use it, but we want to use red as a matte instead of the white. You could always paint or color on that white one if you want to. You can use printed paper, you can use plain paper. You can just leave the paper out if your picture is big enough, whichever way you want to do it. But I like the idea of it being Christmas in the home. If you're new to my channel, I want to say welcome to you. I appreciate you coming by and checking out what we've got going on. For the rest of you who have already subscribed, thanks for coming back by. So you can see exactly what I'm doing here. Once I've got it to the right measurement, I'm going to flip it over and use just a little bit of plain tape and just tape this down. I don't want it to overlap and I don't want it to be seen through. Want everything to be secure though. You could always put your glass back in the frame if you want to use it with glass, but for recording purposes, I'm not going to put my glass in it. I don't want the reflection of the light in my camera and all that aggravation. Flip your pictures back inside, and then I pull the back off of here and it looks terrible, so we're just going to flip it over. Now we have a nice clean side. How about that? Going to do the same thing here. Carefully pull this off. It's just paper. You can save those stands to use on other projects if you need to. I save everything. Alright, and then taking some of that Gorilla Glue, I'm just going to put this all around the edges. And this is going to seal it into the frame without all of popsicle sticks and all of that business on the back. This is going to seal it down and you don't have to worry about it. If you leave it laying there, the glue will seep down where it should. And it doesn't even come through on the other side. Same thing here, all the way around. Once that glue is cooled, we're going to find a way to hang it. So either you hang it or you're going to use it as a stand, and I like the idea of using it as a stand. I got some garland here. I'm going to cut that 2 pieces off. These are snowflakes. I'm just cutting off the cord so you can't really see it. They'll look more like just a regular embellishment. And then I'll take 1 snowflake for each of the houses. And you can do this too, or you can decorate that little spot up top if you wanted to. You could do a tiny swag. So here they are, and I like them. I like them with the gold on there. I think they look nice. Using some building blocks. Now, these are bigger than the ones you get at Dollar Tree, but the ones from Dollar Tree will work. I'm going to put it in the back, push my thumbs against the edge of the block and the bottom of the frame to make sure it's the right level and it will stand up. Press it down, making sure it's even, and then I'll stand that one up. I have this piece. I had a twin I used on another project, and I am going to be using this one today. It is like a resin material, and it's actually like a wall hanging, I do believe. I've got some, it's paint, but it's supposed to be like a chalk paste, I think. The little tools that you use with it. And then I bought this beautiful, beautiful sort of a stencil from TEMU. And that's where I got the paint from as well. We're going to give it a shot today. And then I have this round. I've used it before and I'm going to use it again. It looks like something that possibly came from Target at some point. I'm going to remove the jute and take off the tag from the back. And you can take your tag off any way you want to. If you don't have one, it's not even going to be a concern. I'll use a little ink black chalk paint to paint this entire thing. If you have anything left on here from maybe the last time you used it, go ahead and sand it. Get any glue off, any rough spots, make it very pretty. And then I'll just wipe away any residue with a clean dry cloth. And then put a good coat of this black paint all over this plaque. You could also paint the back if you wanted to, but I'm not going to worry about it. I took off the tag, so it's fine. I'm just using my tool here to dry mine. It makes it a lot quicker when doing projects. Now it's dry. We're going to set it aside. I'm going to grab a towel because when you do a screen stencil, from what I understand, you want to kind of use a towel or something underneath it first. So it makes it a little easier when you peel it off. And by the way, since I've done this, I have taken this, washed it in the bathroom, and it is sticky again. So no problems as far as that goes. I can definitely use this stencil again, and it is beautiful. It's like a country, vintage looking, winter type of a situation. I think is really pretty for Christmas. It makes me think of that song, Winter Wonderland. Of course, the Elvis version. I mean, come on. It's got to be the Elvis version of it. I'm just going to put it on here where it looks like it's centered and then press it down with my fingers, kind of going around, making sure that all of the open areas are nice and flat. You can also use like a flexible squeegee, I think would probably work on here too. I wouldn't want to use anything that would break your little intricate pieces off. So I mixed the paint a little. You can see it's kind of thin. It's almost like school glue. So then I was like, oh boy, I found the first dud from TEMU. But I kept going. I persevered. I'm just going to scoop a little bit out. I've never done a screen type of a stencil before, or I don't even know if I'm saying that correctly. But I've never done it before, and I thought, we're going to try. We're going to experiment and give it a shot, and we'll just wash it off if it doesn't work. So that's what you see me doing here. I scooped a little bit out, and now I'm just going to make sure that all of the little open areas are covered with paint. And then once I get every little hole or opening together, I'm just going to take the excess off and put it back in the little jar. So far, so good, because I can't see the cutouts of the stencil underneath the paint. So I think that's definitely a plus. I think the benefit of a true chalk paste would be that it would dry faster, maybe be a little more opaque. But look how pretty this is. And there's only one little area in the middle of one tree that has sort of like a little blurry look. But I think that was a user error because I had a slight bubble in there that I didn't get all the way out. So it probably allowed it to go underneath the edge. So that's, I think, my fault. But I love the black and the white together. I just wiped off where I bumped it a little bit with the white paint. I'm going to take my black chalk paint. And if you like this just like it is, leave it like it is. But I'm always going to show you on my channel that we have options. All right, so we're pushing that paint up into the bristles. I don't want any large clumps or wet areas in the brush. I want it to be pushed up. And then I'm just going to go over it with the black. You could paint this completely white if you wanted to. You could leave it that brassy looking color. You could do gold. You could do silver or hammered silver. However you want to do it. But because I'm always encouraging you on this channel to make it your own, just want to show you how you can do it a little different. By the way, if you're enjoying the content so far, I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel. It helps the channel grow and lets YouTube know that I'm putting out some worthy material for people here, that there is actually interest in my work here. And yeah, when you help my channel, you in turn help me and my children. So I thank you very much for that. Now, once I get it sort of dry brushed on there as heavy as I would like it, I'm going to go over it with my heating tool to put the next layer of paint on here. Now, this is Rich Espresso, and I am going to be putting this on here because this looks like an old bronzy color to me. It always has, and so I like to use it that way. I'm going over some of the leaves in here. There are leaves, and it looks like some type of a pod, bows, like a vine in there. There's a bunch of different things in this ornamental piece, and I'm just going to go over and do some of the things that are similar in the bronze to just make it stand out a little bit, make it a little different, right? I'm making it my own. And whatever brought you to my channel today, I thank you so much for stopping by and for giving me the time of day. I know it's hard. It's hard for me to keep up sometimes with my 2 videos a week, and then I'm behind on my other channel. So I'm trying, you know, I'm gonna keep the fire going here. All right, so I'm going to go along here and get my head in the way. Very important step. It's not going to be the same if you don't do that, so just be sure you don't skip that step. And then I'm going to go through with my bronze, and there's a rope underneath the bow, like a tassel. So I'm just going over that with the bronze as well, because I kind of wanted it to stand out. And I like the way this looks. Now, just to me, I like the way this looks. If you don't like it, you don't have to do it. You could also use some type of an antiquing wax. You can use a white wax, whatever you like. I'll take that same color there and go over the black. On the edge of this, there's a flat spot, and then it curves. There's a curved area that raises up a little bit. I obviously don't know my architectural words, but you know what I'm talking about. So I'm going to go all over it with this bronze, or the espresso, excuse me, all the way around it, and then I'll be sure that I get the sides of it as well, because that was all black, all colored black. It sticks so good to that chalk paint. All right, so I'm going to add a little more here, and I'm going to take this flat chalk brush and put a stripe on here. I'm doing this because I would like to lay a flat stripe only on the top of this raised curled edge. And I can do that if I keep the brush nice and flat. I can just turn the plaque and keep that flat, and it will put a beautifully painted even edge all the way around that rounded lip. I don't know what made me think to do it this way, but hey, it turned out great, and I love that. Just gonna go around, and I just go over it one time, just around once, and then I'll just make sure that I have it all even all the way around, go back over it, you know, make sure everything's even out and there are no gaps in the color of the paint. And I love the way it looks like it has a double frame around it. I love that. Very nice. Now you can definitely tell that is a recessed piece. And we'll dry that part off. If you don't dry in between, you may end up bumping your edges and messing it up. So just, you know, whatever works best for you. Now I wanted to add this beautiful piece on the top of here. This will not be a hanging piece anymore after this point. It will be something we will use a plate holder, or, you know, you could use it to lean perhaps, but I'll show you how it's going to look with the plate holder shortly, or a picture holder. Now I've decided I wanted to use some of my tape here. Y'all know about this tape. I've also linked it for you in the description box in case you want to purchase it. I'm just going to put some right in the top where I want it, and I'm just leaning it up a little bit. We'll push it back down, and then once I get the two sides, and then the back already has the piece on it, I can really center it up and press it down. I'll flip it over, and on the edges where it is touching the plaque, I'm just going to add some hot glue for a little bit of extra stability. We don't have a lot of touch points on the back to hold these together, but that tape really works well. So now I'm going over it, and when I tell you I'm dry brushing, it's truly dry brushed. It's barely any on there. I did a tiny bit of the bronze over the piece, and then a very, very sheer tiny amount on the black on top, just to sort of give it more of an aged look. And you can see that in the plaque over that beautiful print. You see there's a sleigh and horses and trees. So here's my special ornament that I found at the thrift store. Love this piece. I don't like the fact that it has iridescent glitter on the top, just not my thing. I'm going to use a little bit of aged copper and some bronze. This is actually called bronze. And I'm going to use a piece that I used for Christmas. I'm going to use this again this year for this Christmas. It is a plastic cloche, and you may have had something like this in your home. I think it originally came from Target. I'll start by taking the hanger off the top. It is screwed in, and generally when I find pieces of these ornaments like this, they are screwed in unless the top pops off. I'll take a kind of a soft but firm brush, if that makes any sense, and try to get some of that glitter off, but I'm telling you, they really had it in there. It was really in there. So I thought, well, we're just going to add another one of those layered paint looks on this, just like we did on the other one. We're just going to make it look old, and when I say old, I mean old. Don't be scared, y'all. We're going to put some black paint on here, okay? Now, if you have a hanger that's the center of it goes all the way through, you can use the wired section of a piece of a floral pick that you no longer use. I save these because I use them all the time in other things. I'm just going to strip that off. And now I have a more narrow but sturdy piece that can hold this up if I want to use it. Just a touch of hot glue on there and that pick, and then I can hold it. So if you're not like me and you don't want to get your hands dirty and painted on, you could use this technique. But you know I don't care. I'm going to get my hands dirty because that's just how I do it. Now, I'm taking a brush and going down in every bit of the depressions in here. So we've got the raised areas that give us the dimension, and then you've got the lower areas where the shadows are. I am really going in there with that black paint to get this completely covered so none of the glitter shows, and so that every bit of the recessed areas will keep that black paint in there. So there's my top and bottom. I know which is which. I think it did a pretty good job there covering that. And now we want to bring our dimension back. So I'm going to start with my darkest color. Put it in the brush, push, push, push until it is up in the bristles. And then I'm going to brush in one direction all the way down. I'm not pushing specifically into the lower areas. The brush is sort of at a 45-degree angle. And I'm not going to go, I'm not going to go into the dark areas because I want those to continue to have that shaded look and that deeper look. So I'm holding it from the bottom to put on the darker color. Ooh, look how pretty. Oh my gosh, that looks like metal to me. I love that. Might not be your thing though, so you just go with your colors. This is a little drawer pull that I found at Goodwill, and I'm going to use this on the cloche. That same color I just used to dry brush on top of this ornament is the color that I put on the metal piece on that little drawer pull. Now I'm going to dry it so that my colors don't fuse. I want them individually to show. I'm going to take a different brush that's clean and add in the bronze color, packing it in there. Then I'm going to flip the ornament upside down so it's sitting on the end and I'm holding the top, and I'll brush this one all in the other direction. When you do it like this, I discovered this on this ornament, you give it a two-toned look. You'll have more gold in one direction than you have in the other direction. It'll be bronzier. Do you see the difference? So now we got more of a gold, and there we have more of that darker. There's the lighter, there's the darker. Oh my gosh, obsessed. Obsessed with this look. I'm making more of these. Now I don't have this particular ornament, but anything that I've got's got some texture on it. I'll be putting some more of these on my fall Christmas tree. Yes. Yes, I will. But you can do this with different colors. You could paint this like a copper, make your base color a copper, and then you can put like that aquamarine blue on there to make it look like that, like we did on the other set of ornaments. I'll try to link that video for y'all so you can see that one too, because I've got some other ideas about Christmas ornaments that might be helpful to you if you're interested in making something your own. I'm going to paint the whole thing black, the bottom, the whole thing. I'm going to take my glue gun, and the tip of it is hot. So right on the top of this plastic, it's not going to work on glass. But the plastic, if you push that tip down into the plastic, it will melt a hole into the top. You just have to kind of twist it a little bit and hold it there. You want to make sure that the diameter of that hole is going to be the size that your hanger or screw will fit through. I'm now taking, while that plastic is still kind of hot and malleable, I'm just taking my weeding tool and just kind of going around that hole to get that melted stuff out of the way before it dries and clogs the hole back up. If any is exceeding over the top, You just get a little something to sand it with, but don't sand off the sides, just the tip that needs to be removed. So here's the screw and here's the ornament. I'm going to snug the tip of that ornament all the way up to the top and then try to kind of hold it and put the screw back in it. And the size of that screw is the size of the diameter. In other words, it fits. The top of that screw will fit into the pull that I have. And that's important. You'll have to change your top if it doesn't work. It's got to be something that can actually fit in there if you want it to look like it is hanging inside of the cloche or inside of the little dome. And that's what I want. I want it to look like it's hanging in there. Look at that. You'll see it in a little bit. You'll see that it looks like it's actually hanging in there. It's just, I love it. I am adding a little bit of clear school glue. You can use a glue stick, whatever you want, and just putting a little round that I cut out of some scrap black fabric. And that's going to be my base. I decided to do that because I had some damage on it from before when I pulled the foam off of it. So I just covered it up with this. Gonna let it dry. Then I'm going to start dry brushing over the pedestal or the base of this cloche. I'm using the same colors that I used before, and I'm just going to start building the color on here in the layers. When you do this and your paint is dry in between, you're going to be able to see a lot of dimension. It's not like iridescent, but it's very eye-catching. I don't know if the camera conveys it. I try to get a look in my end screens that I show y'all, the reveals, to let you see what it actually looks like. But even so, in person, it's so different. Maybe because we're using a dark base underneath, but it's very rich and Victorian to me. I love the look of it. I don't expect everybody to like it. This isn't everybody's cup of tea. So just imagine how you could do this in your own way. So once we've got that aged copper nice and dried, then I'll go back over it with the bronze, which looks like a gold. To me, it looks sort of like a champagne gold. And I'm going to go over that. I'm not trying to completely cover up what I've already put down. I'm working around it in the spots that don't have it and then slightly overlapping it. So it just gives it, why do I want to say the word pizzazz? But to me, that's what it does. Over and over. And this is just the paint. This is just the paint. Do you see what I mean now? Can you see the difference? You can still see the black. You can still see the beautiful copper underneath, and then you've got the gold, and then here's that little floating ornament, our little special ornament inside of the dome. Y'all have to excuse my camera lights. They are huge box lights, and I always get a reflection on anything that is glass or reflective like that.